Okay, good evening, we're back. I need a motion now to move into the audit committee. Motion,
Second.
second, so that's James and Kelly. All those in favor? Okay, we're in the audit committee meeting. And she even left, so I can't even hand it over to.
For the audit committee chair?
Okay, so I will, I guess, chair it for now. You have an audit report result, the risk assessment, if you could just share with us
Okay.
the
I
information.
actually have two reports.
Yes.
One being the risk assessment update, and then I have the other cycle report that we did that came out of the risk assessment update. So I know that Rhonda shared with you her corrective action plan. We did have some recommendations in both reports, and I know she addressed them in a corrective action plan.
If you could,
But just to give you, go ahead.
just to give a little background, because we have two new board members. So just, what is the risk assessment? What, kind of go back to, I
Not a
guess,
problem, not a problem.
2008 or something like that.
So every year we come in and we do what we call a risk assessment update. So we evaluate, there's probably about 9 main processes, there's a chart in the report, and about 17 sub-processes to see where we feel the risks are. We look at control risk, which is if your controls are working or not, or inherent risk, which is inherent to the population of what type of control it is. So we go through interviews with individuals, we review all your board policies for all the areas that we're looking at, we do some testing, and then basically, once we're done with that risk assessment update, we determine what we want to do a focus report on. What elevates to a higher risk? We look at not only your district, we look at what's happening in the industry, what the controller is looking at, just to really evaluate the risk. So every year we evaluate the risk. And then based on that, we do one cycle here at your district. Some districts we do more than one, but we come here, we do the one cycle. And that cycle would be really an in-depth review of that area. So we look at any laws or regulations governing that cycle. We look at any board policies, and then we give you recommendations on how to improve anything that we find in that cycle. When we do the risk assessment, we also may find, recommendations. So we want to give you as many recommendations as it comes up in our testing, and then we report it to you in these 2 reports. Okay? So this is for this year, and then what happens is then we come back in December, and then we do another risk assessment update. Okay? If there were findings in prior reports, we follow through on those findings, and then we'll give you a status on what was implemented, where everything stands when we do our next report. Okay? So this risk assessment that you have here was as of December 31st, 2023. So we do it on a calendar basis. And the areas that we did look at this year were governance and planning, accounting and reporting. We looked at revenue and cash management, facilities maintenance, capital projects and capital assets, and also information technology. So those were the 5 main processes that we looked at. And like I said, within the report, we do outline the board policies that govern those areas. We evaluate the different procedures. So if you want to go to page 6, this is where we start talking about the different areas. So governance and planning was the first area that we did an in-depth look at.
Just go over page
Outline.
5 with the new,
Page 5.
yeah, just with the new board members.
Page 5 is a nice synopsis. So if you look at the chart on page 5.
Hold on one second. You did receive it earlier, but there's also attached to the agenda, this one.
You want this one? Because I have it on here. It's easier for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no problem. So this is an excellent chart here. So like I was saying, there's main processes. We do 9 main processes, and then we do 27 sub-processes within those main processes, and this is what we evaluate. So it's a nice synopsis, because you can see what our control risk was last year in 23, what our updated control risk for 24. Then what we do is we have the audit plan. So on here, anything with a black square is what we're proposing we want to test. And then anything where you see the dots, those are what we evaluated in the risk assessment. So we do recirculate each of the areas every time we do a risk assessment. So we did 5 this time, then we'll look at the other 5 the next time. So we're constantly looking at all the areas that are on this chart. So yeah, this is kind of a good, like I said, a picture, a synopsis of everything that we've done, what we did this year, and then the report starting on page 6 really talks more in depth on the procedures that we've done, any recommendations that we have within those different areas. So you can see, basically what the outcome of the testing was and our review of the policies and any interviewing that we did. We do on the bottom give you updated control risk ratings within each of those areas. So after page 5, which has everything on it, then page 6 will kind of talk more specifically on what we did in each of the areas. So we list all the procedures that we did under governance and planning. Then our observation will be anything that came out of doing those procedures, whether it was through interviewing, whether it was through testing, reviewing of board policies, and then we'll give you a recommendation on how to rectify any recommendations that we do have based on our observations. So within governance and planning, one of the things we do look at is your budget transfers. And we did have a few areas, budget transfers that were between non-contingent codes. So what that means is you're not allowed to transfer into an equipment code, okay? Because that's considered a non-contingent expense. So that is, against regulations. So we did pick up 3 budget transfers that went into. You can do out of an equipment code, but you can't do into an equipment code. So there were, and this was early on in the year. So once Rhonda took over, we tested after that, and everything was in order. So it really was an earlier, I think it was in June of 23 that we saw a few that were in the equipment codes. And then Rhonda, once she took over, we tested them after that, and they were in order. So that's why we did not give it a moderate risk, because we feel that it's working now due to our we've extended our sample to make sure it's working. So, but it did come up in our testing, so that's why we included it here. Okay?
A lot of my questions.
That was your question.
My question was.
Oh, okay. What was?
Your answer.
Oh, okay.
I was curious
I read your mind.
why did you get the moderate?
Oh, yes.
The moderate risk.
Yep.
Because it's one of the only observations where a finding was found.
Yes.
So at the other 2 getting the moderate risk.
Right.
So I was curious why.
Mhm.
But you answered.
Right, exactly. Okay, good. So accounting and reporting is another area that we did look at this year. So that, we look at your state aid, the grant processes, we looked at board policies surrounding grants and monitoring your state aid. So you have, a litany of grants that you get. You get, Title II, Title I, these are all federal grants that you get. And there's regulations that you cannot carry over funds over a certain amount. You're supposed to use it for the year that it was allocated. So we did note that the district for 22-23 exceeded the allowable carryover for Title I grants and Title II grants. The district did apply for a waiver, and it was granted. The state did grant them the waiver. But I know that now they have procedures in place that they're going to monitor it so that they're spent in the year that the money is allocated, because you don't want to lose those monies, so it's really important. And I believe, they did, it was in your corrective action plan, they do now have a procedure now to really make sure that the money is spent timely. So that was something, but I'm glad that you got the waiver, so you didn't lose any money.
And that was requested, you said, in the 22-23 school year that
That was the
occurred?
22-23 school year, yeah.
So again, before Rhonda began.
That was before Rhonda.
And before?
I remember when I was thinking about
Yes, and it got subsequently, from when we did our report, it did get approved. So you're gonna get those monies. but it's important now to have that system in place, which is what they have in place. So then the other next area we looked at was revenue and cash management. So we look at, cash receipts, we look at your investments, we making sure that you have your collateralized properly. The bank recs there's no inordinary, outstanding items on your bank recs. Petty cash, you're only allowed to have $100 per petty cash account, so we look at that. We looked at your wire transfers. We looked at the bank recs, we did a sample to make sure, everything was in order. We have no exceptions in this area, so that was very good. Next area was facilities, maintenance, capital projects, and capital assets. So here again, we interviewed anybody involved in these processes. We looked at the board policies. We made sure that you were tracking your capital assets within the system. So currently what you do is you have an outside appraisal done every 5 years, which you do get free through NYSER, so you don't have to pay for it. But what we're recommending is in between those full appraisals, if there is a way to track or do on a test basis, testing to make sure everything is tagged, everything is in the location it's supposed to be in. And I believe that is being started, and they're going to do that. Where they're going to do physical inspections, so you don't have to wait till the 5th year to find out, maybe something is not where it's supposed to be. So that was another procedure that has been recently implemented. Then the next area was information technology. So we looked at your disaster recovery plans, making sure that you have all the board policies that you're supposed to have. The important discuss that you have the training for cybersecurity. We looked at your server and your file server procedures and recovery of any data if it ever gets lost. And we reviewed your permissions report. So we did look at the AIS, which is your accounting information system permissions. And there was within the business office, there was, everybody kind of had access to do things. It wasn't restricted to their specific job title. So I know that Rhonda went back and she now has fixed that. Yes. So when we come back to do our audit again, we're going to check to make sure all this is functioning. So that was the one recommendation that we did have, that the commissions were not in line with their job responsibilities. Okay. So that is still at moderate. The data security and cyber risk is still at moderate. Okay. And then on the page 10, this was a status of prior year. So we did a cycle report on your transportation systems, and everything that we had recommended was implemented. But we do give you an update on where everything stands. Okay. So
now when you said that a formal policy was not in place, do you need a formal policy?
as long as you have a procedure to monitor it, that's the key. So you should be good. Okay, and then I know you contract out with your drivers, so the physical, the fitness is not required, so a couple of these things are not required to be outsourced. Okay. So this is the risk assessment. So out of the risk assessment, the chart I went over, we had in 24, we did recommend doing student-related data and services program, and what's included in that is student attendance, the liability of student performance data, and student security and safety. Those are the 3 areas that we did look at. So you do have that second report here, where we also, reviewed the board policies. We did a lot of interviewing with anybody involved in those areas, and then we did some testing within those areas. The procedures pretty much that we looked at. So if you go to page 2. What we do is we list any relevant board policies that are under that area. So we did look at student attendance and making sure that the attendance is being tracked properly, because that's how you get aid, right? So you want to make sure that you have a good system in place for attendance. So we did test 10 student attendance records for departmentalized schools. which is the high school and the middle school. And then non-departmentalized, which is the elementary schools, to ensure that there was supporting documentation, existed for any of the students that were absent, late, or signed out early. And we've had no exceptions in the testing of that. Okay, so we have no recommendations for that. Then the second area, the focus area we looked at was reliability of student performance data. And what that includes is we are really monitoring the classification of new entrants, also students that were classified as dropouts, and also students that were classified as graduates. So we looked at those records to make sure that you have all the documentation that you should have in place with regards to the students and the data, and we did not have any exceptions in that area. And then the third area that came under this report is the student security and safety. So here, we did make sure that you did have a district-wide safety plan. You're required to do evacuation drills and lockdown drills, so we did make sure, we looked into that to make sure you got, and it's at different intervals, you're supposed to have a certain amount during a certain part of the year. So we looked at those areas and everything was in order. We looked at district security guards to make sure that they have all the certifications that they should have. We also looked at any forms that you were required to file with the state to make sure that those are being filed, like for violent or disruptive behavior. There's regulations that you're supposed to file, so we wanted to make sure you were current with that, which you were. All those reports were done and filed with the state. You did have, like I said, the district-wide school safety plan. We reviewed your building level emergency response plans, also to make sure that they all have the required elements. So every plan has to have certain elements, and we made sure that you did have those and were in compliance. We also reviewed your recent building condition survey and visual inspections to make sure that they were also had the required elements in accordance with the commissioner's regulations. So out of all this information that we did test, we did have one recommendation or one thing that came up with our testing had to do with the evacuation and lockdown drills. The Sayville Middle School did not perform the required 8 drills prior to December 31st. So you have to get 8 done before December 31st, and then the remainder gets done after December 31st. So that was the one exception that we had with our testing on that. So I know Rhonda has met with the principals, and now they have a procedure to monitor to make sure that they are doing those drills when they're supposed to be doing it. Okay? So that's the cycle report. So I don't know if anybody had any questions on either report that I went over.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just had a question about the,
Turn your mic up.
Sorry. I had a question about the title money, and I don't know if that's a question for you or if that's a question for us. That seems to be a decent amount of money unused.
Yeah,
Do we know the reason, like why it wasn't?
I don't know the exact reason. It was from 2 years ago.
Okay.
But what happens is if you don't spend it, it goes to a carryover, and then you have
Right.
to write a waiver to get the carryover. Amy DiMiola looked at that with Rhonda Messerol this year.
Okay.
Wrote the request for the waiver, and then it was given so that they could spend it properly. And moving forward, they've changed it a little bit. I think you have to spend it now.
Yeah,
It-
so
it's
during
different.
COVID,
Yeah, during COVID there were some waivers.
They gave waivers automatically, but now you have to apply for them. But I think the assistant superintendent for curriculum, right, she's more involved with that, and she's working with Rhonda now. She was new to the district. I
Yeah, she
believe,
actually
right?
came
Right.
before. She came
So
after that was so
23.
yeah it was 2 years prior that was the unused money.
Right,
So when
right,
she came in August, she worked with Rhonda to.
right. So now
create
they
the
have a
waiver.
system together, which I think she outlined in the response to the report. So they have plans on what they're gonna use those monies for. They got the waivers, and now they're spending the monies on specific expenses, specific to Title I.
To Title I and Title II, right,
Yeah.
okay.
So they do have a plan in place to make sure that they use them, and they will be monitoring them, on a go-forward basis, the curriculum office and the special ed office also.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Any other questions? As far as the schedule for the next processes, um, when do you need to know if we want to change anything? If we want to have,
If there's a certain area you have concerns about,
Yeah.
you can tell me now, because what we're gonna do is we're going to, we come in now to do the next risk assessment.
Okay.
Which means we're gonna follow up on all these recommendations to see if they were implemented. And then we're going to recommend certain cycles, but if there's anything, it's kind of like, team effort. So if there's anything that you guys want us to kind of focus on earlier rather than later, we can change it.
well, because what I was thinking, Rhonda's not here, but maybe in August, I mean, by the August meeting, would that be enough time for you then to change or
Yeah, sure,
okay.
sure.
So we would discuss it with her, then see if there's anything that she feels, because she was new to the district as well, and maybe there's something that, she would want to focus on. So,
Because I think right now we have recommended facilities maintenance and capital
Yeah.
projects. So we can change that when the next report comes out. We can update it based on input.
Yeah. okay, good.
All right?
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Any other questions?
But the facilities and maintenance, that would be when you come in December, or that would be a year from now?
It would be, we come in December, we do the risk assessment, and then we would do facilities maintenance after that. So it would be like
Okay.
spring.
All right.
March. kind of it.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so then the next item I have is action item. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
Wait one
Sorry.
second. I just want to mention something
Okay.
about the approval of the minutes. I believe, if I'm correct, that only Christine, yourself, me, and James were here for that meeting. So I believe we're the only ones who can vote on it. Approval of the minutes.
Anybody, I'm almost certain anybody can vote on minutes. You don't have to be there to vote on.
Oh, really?
I believe that's the case.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, okay, so that's the claims order. Right,
External.
external, sorry, go ahead. Okay, sorry. I didn't see it on the agenda though. Let's see. Did I misread it?
I think they were both there, no?
Okay, fine. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Christopher Angata, partner in Rocky Smith. As most of you know, Rocky Smith is the accounting firm retained by the district to perform the annual audit of the district. So I'm here this evening to present the plan for the 2024 audit. This meeting is required by the New York State Education Department, which requires the independent auditors to meet with the audit committee of the Board of Education to discuss the plan, the timing. But there's also a mechanism for the board or audit committee to speak with us directly prior to the commencement of the audit to really, once again, address any concerns or additional input that you may have prior to the commencement so that we can address that with respect to our planning of the audit. I prepared a brief presentation which will cover my basis for my discussion point for this evening. Certainly, as I'm going through it, if there's any questions, please feel free to interject. The first page of the presentation is just the engagement management team. I wanted to confirm with the board that we are ensuring that there is complete continuity with respect to our engagement team this year, as it was last year. So myself as the engagement partner, John Castle as the director, as well as Stephen Bailey as the manager. All other seniors and staff on the audit are also the same as last year, so complete continuity with respect to our engagement team. In terms of the scope of services, as I mentioned, Rocky Smith is retained by the district to perform an audit of the year-end financial statements for the year ending June 30, 2024, in accordance with professional standards. We will also perform a single audit of the district's major federal award programs that the district administers in accordance with the OMB uniform guidance. We'll also perform an audit of the district's extra classroom activity funds. Those are on the cash basis of accounting. As part of our audit, we do constantly issuing a management letter presenting any findings or recommendations on improving the accounting procedures and internal controls. And our services also include the presentation both this evening as well as the final meeting with the The next page of the presentation is just really an overview of the audit plan. We break the plan for the audit really into 4 phases. First, the planning phase, where we develop essentially our preliminary risk assessment. We identify any high-risk areas, which were identified to be fund balance, federal funds, and revenue recognition. Not because of any particular issues. We do read the internal audit reports. Usually those come after we've already planned for the audit. So I do know that RSA did mention some findings with respect to the federal funds. I could say that that was not part of the external audit in those deals. We do identify major programs and only test those major programs. However, due to kind of the overall nature of those federal funds, we do assess those as high risk just for the purposes of some audit. We always look at fund balance just due to kind of the nature of those transaction classes, as well as revenue recognition, just kind of due to the overall kind of sense of revenue. Our preliminary procedures were performed about a month ago. We come to the district to go through some preliminary procedures, some preliminary testing with respect to certain transaction classes. We update our understanding of internal controls, and really just update our risk assessment with respect to the overall audit. We are scheduled to commence the final audit procedures in August, where we'll go through really performing the bulk of our substantive procedures on year-end audit balances, performing tests on high-risk areas, as well as performing a detailed subsequent events review. Subsequent events mean any events that occur after the district's fiscal year end. So we're required to identify any particular transactions or events that will occur after the event, whether they be for disclosure or accounting purposes. And then pretty much right after the end of the audit, we jump into the final reporting phase, where we do assist the district in the preparation of the financial statements. Obviously, the ultimate goal is the timely filing with the New York State Education Department by October 15th. The next page is the proposed critical date schedule. Kind of mentioned these as I was going through the plan, but we did perform preliminary audit procedures in June. We are set to commence the audit fieldwork the week of August 19th. That is historically in line with what we've done with the district in years past. We expect to have completion of the audit fieldwork by September 6th. That might seem like a long period of time. However, there is definitely some follow-up that occurs after our dedicated time here at the district, whether it be actual reports or some additional follow-up that's needed. But we do expect by around Labor Day to be fully complete with the audit work and really be in a position to enter the final reporting phase. Ultimately, we expect to have a draft of the financial statements for the district's review on or about September 30th. We do have a meeting scheduled with the audit committee for October 10th. So we're expecting to be at that meeting to make a formal presentation of the results and ultimately file with the state by October.
And that's what I was going to actually ask you, just to make sure that's in line with the October meeting, because last year, because of the timing of the state and everything, then we had an additional meeting. And
So that's already
we're
on my
dedicated,
calendar
but,
to
you
be
know.
on all of yours, so
we don't need to.
no additional meetings. The next 2 slides are our representative audit procedures. I will mention that there are no new accounting or reporting standards that the district needs to implement for the June 30th, 2024 fiscal year. So our testing, while unpredictable in the sense of our sampling, our transactions that we select, the procedures theoretically that we perform remain pretty consistent on a year-over-year basis. So in the essence of time, I'm not going to go through the next 2 slides, but there are an overview of the procedures we performed both during our prelim work last month, as well as the procedures we will perform during our final audit procedures from August. As I mentioned, really, my job this evening was to present kind of the plan for the audit committee this evening. But I'd certainly like to turn the meeting back over to all of you if there's any questions or additional matters.
No, it's just a question of timing that we can just, make sure that we meet those deadlines. And, but I mean, in years past, everything has gone pretty smoothly. I know you've worked well with the business office as well. Any other questions?
It's a beautiful presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
She has experience in presentations.
Tried very hard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so now back to the agenda. Um, Going back to the action items, approval of minutes. We had a motion. I think we had a second. All those in favor? Motion passes. The minutes are adjourned. Are approved. Now we can adjourn the audit committee back to regular session. Need a motion? Second? All those in favor? Okay. The audit committee is closed. We're back to our regular meeting. Yep. Okay, so now let me hand it over. It's off to you. We have no correspondence. I'll do that first.
Okay.
And then superintendent.
All right,
Report.
welcome everybody, and thank you for coming. For those of you who are in the audience, hello, Danny. And for those of you who are home, we hope you're joining us from home. It's a summer meeting, so we mostly stick to business and then head on out to our day. But just want to thank everyone for what has been a really productive summer from the school's perspective. There's been a lot of construction work. There's been a lot of summer programming. We have a special education program going on. We have credit recovery programs going on. We have an enrichment program going on. And they've been doing just, a lot of our teachers and staff from our district, participate and support those programs. So I want to thank those teachers and staff members who have been part of that. It's been really nice. My slides should be coming up on the screen, but I don't see them. So you're going to hit this button? But really, I don't need them all. There were just a couple pictures. So again, the other thing, teachers are doing a lot of work over the summer. We had over 50 curriculum projects. Teachers spent 2 days training with Ms. DiMiola, our assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, and a committee of teachers designed to come up with a common approach to curriculum design in terms of unit planning, and so that every curriculum project going forward will have a similar format, and that will kind of make it easy to look at programs and courses from grades 6 through 12 in a systematic way. And I think they did the teacher committee and Ms. DiMillo did a really nice job kind of putting together that format. And then the teachers gave us some feedback that they thought it was very helpful and just guidance about what is expected when they do a summer curriculum project. So those teachers, spent 2 days training just on how to do that. And then now they're off and running, writing curriculum. And we've had, I think it was 17 curriculum projects at the elementary level and about 30 plus curriculum projects at the secondary level. So we're really excited about that. We also have a teacher academy this summer. We did it last summer on a small scale. We've built it a little bit even bigger on just a whole host of strategies teachers can use in the classroom to support their students. And those are running throughout the summer. We had about 70 to 80 teachers signing up for those training courses. They range from, again, the curriculum design course to courses on trauma-informed classroom instruction and just ways to support students. So we're really happy about that. And now we have a presentation from our Director of Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Castellano, who's going to just share the many, many projects that are keeping him and the team busy all summer long. I'm just waiting for the screen for you, Danny. It was up.
You're 4, right?
I am 4.
You're 4, yeah. It's unfortunate that HDMI 1 on the TV. Make sure the plug is.
It said 18 by 4 though. It was when we did the picture, it was up.
Yes.
All right. So as Danny talks about what we're doing, you're going to imagine the construction that he has many pictures of. Do you have it? Do you want me to bring the computer over? Yeah. All right. So I'm going to unplug. We can just hear Danny kind of present it visually for us. And now, does that work? Maybe it'll work.
Maybe I'm plugging back.
I did. I just did.
There we
Okay.
go.
All right. So this is the new roof on the Sunrise Drive School. It's a beautiful product. That's obviously a joke, but again, that's what it feels like we're building every year when we're putting on these roofs. So go ahead, Danny.
All right, so I'm just gonna run through the building. We're gonna start at the high school. Right now, we're working on a replacement of the art display in the main hallway. It's gonna match the wood finish on the existing veteran display. Also gonna match we just put up new casework at the main entrance that was donated by the student government and Ms. Van Dorn. So that hallway is all gonna match. We're also going to cover up that green tile in the hallway.
Right, why?
Yeah, I want to say the number one things kids brought up to me at the superintendent's roundtable was, can we please do something about the color of the tile? It feels like 1970 in there. So
So
talk
we
about
are,
It's
we're putting
1950.
we're putting an epoxy over the wall tile, it's kind of like a new color to match the tile and also make the casework pop. So right there, the art display, they finished staining it and stuff, we're gonna be putting a display in there. And then gonna have glass shelves on the side, so Ms. Urso can display the ceramic. We're doing a little bit of mason work outside, that's the auditorium loop, so where that yellow line is, that's like the public walk there. There's numerous cracks and stuff along there, so we're redoing that. It's actually starting this week after the paving gets done. The middle school, so the front exterior of the building was repainted to provide a clean, appealing look, which was completed by our district staff. I don't know if you drove by. Previously, halfway up the columns was painted white due to some vandalism we got about a year ago. So it's time to, it's all one color now. We're also in the process of installing new security vestibule. Right there, that's the cut on the right side, that's what if you're walking through the doors, that's what you'll see on the left-hand side, that's where the transaction window will be. On the left picture, that's looking out from the inside of the security vestibule. And if you're familiar with the middle school, where the current window is, we're gonna be putting a storefront across so that it's an actual man trap inside the vestibule. So the public will be entering through that door and then get buzzed into another door. So it'll be an actual trap inside the vestibule.
Right. And of the 5 schools, that was the only school that didn't have that safety feature. So now all 5 schools will have the same man trap type safety feature.
We just redid the auditorium carpet. The outdated carpet was like 25 plus years old. We had no more attic stock. Anytime we got stains, it was hard to hide anymore. So
And once we fixed the lighting in the auditorium, we could see the stains. So we had to replace.
and then the middle school, we have some masonry work going on, and this is the south lot. This is where the pool is. This is where the main drop-off and pickup areas are. There's numerous trip hazards. At the end of the day, the curb is like a quarter-inch to a half-inch below the asphalt curb line. Lincoln Avenue. So there, we're doing a roof overlay. That began this week with an expected completion date of the membrane around mid-August. The metal edging will be completed closer to the start of school. As we get closer to the start of school, the priority is to have the exterior edging around the building, so it's appealing to the students as we pull up on the first day. There may be some punch list items on the interior courtyards, but the whole exterior will be done. We have renovation of the current multi-purpose room turning into a ski land. That has started taking place. In that back corner there was a door that went into the office, like a little closet off the office. We blocked that up. We abated the floor in there. We have casework on order, and then we're going to be putting the new floor in, and the mural is coming now. We are painting it. I met with Mr. Romano today. Keep it colors for the room, so we're going to start painting that this week.
Is that a larger room or is it a normal, is it a normal
It's
class?
a larger
It's a
size.
little
Yeah,
bit larger than a
yeah.
typical classroom, so it's kind of nice for the science materials that we want to have in the room.
And it also has an exit to the outside. I think there's some talks about maybe putting an outdoor learning area in that space, putting some split rail fence to keep the kids in there.
They got some ideas.
They have a lot of ideas.
They have ideas, yeah.
How much is this gonna cost?
It didn't cost us directly because it was all through ARP funding.
So we're doing some masonry work at Lincoln. That's the concrete path that goes from High Street up towards the building. Cherry Avenue. So there are 8 bathrooms being renovated at Cherry, 2 multi-stall bathrooms in the middle wing, 2 all-gender faculty bathrooms in the main hallway, and 4 bathrooms in the kindergarten wing. The all-gender, 2 multi-stall, and 1 bathroom in the kindergarten wing will all meet ADA requirements. The east wing student bathrooms, they're not being renovated, the student bathrooms down there. I believe they were renovated when we did the library. But the floors, we're gonna put epoxy on the floors to seal the floors. It's just easier to maintain, and provide some cleaner look. So this is the current, this is room 102 in Cherry Avenue. This is room that's gonna have an ADA, bathroom in it for that wing. If you look to the left, the current footprint is where that, tile floor is. And there was casework to the right of that with the sink. So we're shortening the casework to the right where the sink is. Still gonna have a sink there, but we're expanding to the right a little bit, and then we're coming out towards the front of the classroom to provide an ADA bathroom in that wing. That's just the inside of the middle wing. That's the plumbing. There was the holes on the right is all the floor urinals. No longer be floor urinals. There'll be wall urinals with urinal privacy screens. Sunrise. Roof replacement has been ongoing since the first week of July. Our preliminary core sample provided us with results that showed extensive wet insulation, which led us to rip the entire roof except for over the cafeteria, gymnasium, and multi-purpose room. The vapor area of this roof has asbestos-containing materials, will also necessitate significant abatement. We have 4 bathrooms being renovated there, which include all gender faculty, a women's faculty, and 2 multi-stall bathrooms. Each of these bathrooms will meet ADA requirements. We also have a classroom being turned into a STEAM lab there. The demo of the casework is taking place. And lastly, we have supply and ceiling replacement happening throughout the building. So this is the roof. This is over the middle wing on the left side. That's where they started putting in the new roof. On the right side, that's by the cafeteria. That's the west wing. That's where they ripped down to the deck. This is the ceiling replacement. You can see on the left, this is line ceiling taken down. On the right side, the brick going up. And this is the bathroom. So these are the middle wing bathrooms at Sunrise, and this, the Sunrise bathroom in the middle wing, this was quite extensive, the project that takes place there. So if you look on the right-hand side, that would be the girls' bathroom. It had 5 toilets in it, and the boys on the left had 2 toilets. You go to the next picture. So the next picture shows on that left, that right picture shows where we had to bump out the wall into the girls' bathroom. We needed clearance to provide an ADA stall in the boys' bathroom. So now the boys' bathroom will have 2 stalls still. One will be ADA, and then there'll be 4 urinals with privacy screens. The girls' side, which had 5 stalls, that'll be down to 3 stalls, but it'll have an ADA and 2 regular stalls. So on the left side where we bumped out to, in the girls' room coming this way. We also had there was a floor hatch in the utility closet of the boys' room. We're gonna take that wall down, move the wall in, and move the utility hatch in there on the floor to get the ADA to come into the bathroom.
Yeah, so there were certain things in place that had been done 50 years ago that are no longer in compliance that we had to kind of address.
The administration building will have a new roof layover and metal edging. Work is scheduled to start the first week of August. We'll also be renovating the special education conference room with new casework, provide extra storage and flooring. And the turf field will be adding security fencing from the administration parking lot. Due to this, we'll also be adding an additional cement area to provide for better traffic flow for attendees, and that actually started today over there. They put the cement in over there.
Yeah.
So that's the outline of where the cement is going. It's actually, they just finished up a little while ago over there.
I just want to compliment Danny and his team. In addition to the men that we employ that are doing all the work of moving every single classroom out of the classrooms at Sunrise, as an example, into the cafeteria, all of those teachers' materials, student desks, everything out of the pretty much evacuating wings of the building so they can take out roofs and ceilings and kind of get prepared. So our guys are doing a ton of work, but also the coordination with the outside groups, the Balfour who comes in and does the bathrooms, the concrete work, it's just all coordinated through Danny's office. So I just want to compliment Danny and thank him for the work that he does.
Just be happy that we don't run 12-month program.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact that he does this in 2 months is unbelievable, that he has it all buttoned up and ready to go by the start of school.
I just want to say, why are you here?
He just came from the concrete. I also just wanted to say we had a storage room that was a gymnasium in the old junior high school. And we were talking to Ryan Cox about the fact that some of our sports were getting jammed up, especially in the winter for playing basketball or wrestling or fencing. And so we said, well, why are we using a storage room, one of the gyms from a long time ago, as a storage room? So his guys also spent an unbelievable amount of time pulling out all of the stuff, rearranging the tech department, putting the offices in a room that didn't have offices, making the old offices, a storage room, and then opening up the gym. So now we'll have that extra gym space for the district.
It's a hidden gem.
It was hidden It was next to, there's a gym where we vote.
Yeah.
To the, if you're walking down the steps of that gym, to the left of that through 4 walls is a second auxiliary gym that had been basically the floor covered and stacks of technology materials and paper. And it was useful because it was a centralized storage room for technology, but not at the expense of a space for kids to play sports. Right. So we're
And
going
you
to
can
be,
imagine the technology back then when they were using it were big computers. Now we're down to Chromebooks.
but that, I mean, if you watched how much stuff had to come out of the room, it's again to commend you. And that was all in-house by our people. So thank you. The best part was we pulled up the floor and it's in good shape. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any questions for Danny or the team? Okay.
Thank you.
And again, we missed it before, but I just wanted to not shortchange the people who did curriculum writing. That's the one of the 2 sessions of curriculum writers training, and it was just a very well received.
Yeah, I just have a question. What type of curriculum are they writing? Like, what are they actually?
So
So
this
do you have
training-
like an example of this is what they came up with, like this ELA model
Yes.
or this?
So this training was about how to write the curriculum. One of the things we talked about was that people had been doing curriculum writing, and then they have different ways of doing it. And some wrote a book, and some wrote a couple pages, and some did a unit, and some did the whole. And do we want to have a way that we do our curriculum writing? So we looked at the outcomes we're looking for based on the survey, the 8 things that or the 6 things we want students to be able to do when they graduate. I can't see them with my glasses on, but being independent learners, being communicators, those kinds of things. And we said, well, if we're going to have curriculum that's consistent, that builds on those things, is there a way for teachers to look at a consistent framework as they go up through the grades, so that even though the content changes and the teacher's approach changes, there's a similar format for how we do this. So a committee of teachers at the secondary schools got together. We looked at many different varieties of curriculum maps, and they agreed on a format for curriculum mapping that they thought would be a good way for Sayville to look at our desired outcomes, look at our goals, and kind of frame it. Then this training, which was taught by Ms. DiMiola and I believe 4 or 5 teachers from that committee, was about what the expectations are for curriculum writing moving forward, so that when people produce a product, they know what to aim for and how to use the charts to best get a curriculum that is basically a backwards design curriculum, which is looking at what are our desired outcomes for students, what do we want them to know, understand, and be able to do. That's stage 1 of the planning in the chart. I will share these with you guys.
That's what I was going to ask. Would we be privy to that? Would we be able to?
Absolutely.
I'm actually really interested.
Yeah, it's great. And there's a presentation planned for November where Amy is going to, October, where Amy is going to review with you all of the summer curriculum work that was done in the format. But the nice thing is now we have a way that we want to kind of just frame it moving forward, so that as we build curriculum, as an example, an English teacher in grade 9 might be doing something. They could look at what the 10th grade teachers wrote. Now we look at these maps and we say, what are you guys doing, and how can we build on that? But yeah, so this is, I was just giving an update if we did it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But what you're going to see in a moment is a chart of all the topics that I want to cover at our board meetings.
Okay.
And one of the topics is a review of the curriculum.
Perfect.
So
Well, also it's helpful because, for example, if you're using 10th grade English, then all of the teachers teaching 10th grade English will teach the same literature and same skills. How they go about it may be different, but that way they're teaching the same, because sometimes a parent will call and say, oh, my twin in this class and my twin in that are not doing the same work. So
right.
that's useful.
Yeah, and one of the things we think is it's important that all the teachers kind of asked for this, by the way, in the surveys we gave them, in the meetings that Amy had with them, is that we want to maintain the autonomy of a teacher to choose the approach to teaching. That part is really an art. And then the curriculum map, though, should not be different. It shouldn't be that if you go into 9th grade English, this group of kids happen to learn how to write a 5-paragraph argumentative essay, and this group never did that. The what and the curriculum should be identical no matter which teacher you have, but the style and the approach is where the teacher's art form comes into place. So, but you're going to get a whole presentation on that, and you're going to love it. Okay. And then the last part of my presentation is just handing this out. I'm giving this to you now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the retreat. These are, again, a list of proposed topics. These meetings of the Board of Education are your meetings, so you get to decide what the topics are, but these are my proposed topics, and you can rearrange where they go, or you could ask me, I want to hear more about topic X, and I don't want to hear about this topic, and we can pull one or put one on, but they are all aligned with the board goals that we came up with a year ago. So it's just building back on our STEAM program, our world language program, our elementary programming, our secondary core, our middle school path, just presentations aligned with the work we've been doing. But when we meet for our retreat, you'll be able to kind of say, yeah, I like this here. I want to see more of something else. So I'm just giving this to you now to review so that when we get to the retreat, you guys can give me some guidance on
I
this.
think these were implemented as a, some discussion on the retreat last year.
Yes.
And I think that, they were informative, they were helpful. And I think that not only is it, good for us as advisors to know what's going on, but it's good for the community to know what's going on. It's good PR.
Absolutely. And that was the point of the presentations. We did this format last year, and I think we had a lot of nice presentations. There'll be a wider range of things that you've asked for. But for the retreat, I just want to kind of go over what the basic plan is to do some team building as a board, to kind of talk about the role and responsibilities of the board and what board governance is, based on the national and New York State School Boards Association's recommendations for how boards should operate. To have you guys have time to talk to each other about how you want to operate. Again, these are your board meetings, so how they run is really up to you with me making recommendations. So we can discuss, like, what do you want the flow to be? What do you want the format to be? How do you want to interact throughout the board meetings? And we discussed that at the retreat. And then to present to you the board goals that were agreed upon a year ago and say, what have we accomplished and what do we want to keep? And what do we want to check the box and say, this is done, it doesn't need to be there, and where do we want to take them? They're always a dynamic document. It's not we put the board goals together and they stay that way forever. It's we put the board goals together, but then as we achieve things, we adjust and we add and we implement. So that will be a discussion we can have together as a board. What are the goals that we're currently kind of being aimed for, and how do we want to move forward with them? One of the things that I did say to administrators and teachers is, once we do the surveys and we take the information and we create the goals, there's not going to be changing every year. I don't want teachers to have this sense of, this was the goal this year,
Goal
now
number
this year
one.
is that. It's goal overload. So we want to stick with these goals for basically 5 years. So all I'm looking to do is augment or just kind of address what has not been addressed and what has been needing to be addressed. But I really want stability for teachers to feel like there's nothing new other than to go after the goals you guys already agreed to go after. So that's my goal for the retreat. But I also wanted to have a conversation with you now just about, are there other things you want to cover during the retreat or things you want to focus on? And then Tom and I will put the agendas together for that retreat when we get to that day.
Hey, so topics, hot topics.
Topics now?
Not topics for that, but at the retreat, not at the retreat, we can discuss that. But
As for the retreat
for the
itself, is
retreat,
there
I
anything you
described
want-
kind of what we're going to be doing. Is there anything else you wanted to kind of hit on at the retreat, while we're there? Or does that cover it?
I mean, if you think of anything, then shoot us an email because, by the end of the week, and then this way we can, then finalize the agenda.
Tom and I'll get together next week and kind of just finalize the agenda. Then I'll send it out to you in advance. And
I think, I'm not positive. I know they touched on it on the dinner that Kathy and I went to, like what exactly can be discussed at the retreat.
Right.
So like, for example, I know I have tons of questions and I've been doing tons of research on capital projects. And I don't, that's why I didn't just say that right now, because I'm not sure if that's something that's allowed to be talked about at a retreat.
Yeah, I think those kind of things should be talked about in public.
Right.
This is more about how do you want to plan your year, to then talk about these things in
Gotcha.
public.
Yeah.
So if there are issues related to the school district, I would say those have to be discussed in the public forum.
Not even our school district, just,
But any school district.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, right. general.
But the retreat's purpose is really to kind of, have you guys kind of take some time to talk about, like, just really make sure we understand the roles and responsibilities of that and your expectations of me, and also what you have of expectations for each other, and then how we want to roll out the year and kind of succeed at achieving our goals.
And how we want to operate as a unit.
Right.
Sounds good.
Basically, if you see something you would like to improve upon, or you see something that we're not doing as well as we could, that's what you bring up at a retreat, certain areas.
Okay. Sounds good.
And that's my report. Thank you very much.
I do have a question. It's really not, it's from our tech people. How long are these batteries supposed to stay on?
The Chromebook battery.
The Chromebook battery? No, but I mean, yeah, well. I
4
think
hours
mine-
before you need a charge.
Yeah, how many hours before you need a charge, would you say?
Between 2 and 3, but
Okay,
about 2 hours maybe.
yeah, well, okay, then mine's about 2 hours instead. And it was fully charged. I made sure it was
Okay.
fully charged. Okay,
We can have that someone look at
just, it's not real.
Okay, I have, just fair warning, I have 2 minutes of 2% of power left in my iPad, so we could talk as much as we want, but I may have to use somebody else's agenda.
that. Go ahead.
Okay, so we talked about the board retreat, so if you have anything, bring that forward by the end of the week. The audit committee charter, so we handed it out. And Rhonda made some suggestions. She adjusted it so that we can have the option of adding up to 2 people from the community. So what I would suggest is that you take a closer look at it, see if there's anything else that, there's a question in there about whether the claims audit function needs to be in there. I'm going to talk to Rhonda about that further. Maybe we'll take that out if it's not needed to, keep the focus on the audits. And I mean, is there anything else, Christine, that you want to add?
I think what you said about the composition and requisite skills is a good to look over, because I think that's,
Yeah, we want to be able to achieve it.
yeah, that may not be achievable.
It's the level of expertise is I think in the state suggested format is higher than the reality. So. Okay. And what I've been working on is last year we had presented with the business office the 5 pillars of fiscal responsibility for the district. You may remember that. And I asked Rhonda to update it. So my goal is to put that on, say, at the September or the October meeting, that we fully present that and review that with all the board members. And that, because today we had the internal auditors and the external auditors, and I'm sure some of you are wondering, who does what and why do we have such an overlap? And I think that presentation will help give some clarity to that.
And it is required, correct?
Yes.
They're like post-Roswell standards.
Yep. Okay. Anything else on the charter? Okay, next item I have is the Scope Annual Dinner, August 13th at the Bourne Mansion. Registration deadline is July 26th. So
Is anyone attending that?
is anybody attending?
I'd love to go, but I can't.
I'm attending.
Okay, you're attending? Okay,
Great.
okay,
Yeah, I'm gonna attend.
I'll try to attend as well. Okay. Then we also have the New York State School Board Association Convention and Education Expo, October 20th through the 22nd in New York City. So register.
They present and vote and discuss their resolution?
No.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a
New
part of
York
it,
State,
right?
That's right.
it is a part of it, but they also, if you remember, last year was like Syracuse, the year before was in Albany, it rotates. So this is
Yeah.
the year it's Manhattan, and it's a
Training.
phenomenal. They have a large number of trainings for board members, for administrators, for teachers, and I think because it's in New York City, I think it would be a great opportunity
Yeah.
for if you guys could make it. It's hard to get to when it's in Syracuse.
Yeah, it's a
But
Monday and
it's a really
Tuesday.
great-
That's
it's a really
the
great,
difficult-
I can make it.
Why they do that?
My schedule's free.
I,
So I'm gonna.
put me down, I guess.
It's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's the one we went to in
and the fact
Syracuse.
is in the city, it's
You
even
can
way-
find out what other districts are doing that you would like to do.
Okay. So you got everybody? Myself.
For this, I'm gonna look into it. I just have to check.
Do you think you'll be able to go?
I'd like to, the same days are the annual conference for the New York State Teacher Center
Ah,
in Lake George, so I just wrote an email to, Mike Smith in Albany last night to see if I can make it to this, because my learning curve here is much larger.
yeah. And it's actually a very good event. I went there a couple of years ago and I enjoyed it.
One of the pluses, you can see what we're doing well and what areas we can improve upon. That other districts are like, oh, I didn't know you did it. It's good, ask a lot of questions of the district.
Okay.
Kathy, and as you guys getting that The State Board of Ed magazine, or it's
Yes.
monthly?
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause there's usually kind of interesting topics.
Yeah.
topical things.
Yeah.
Do the clips for all of you go to your focused email or your
No.
other?
You have to go to other.
Is there a way to change that?
I don't know.
Usually just toggle back and forth between the two.
I know, I just know being at the high school when I had other things going to other, they were able to change that.
Okay.
There might be a way.
You can change it. If you change the way you can make everything go into not
Focus.
focus and other, you can just have it all in one place. But those emails, those news clips come every day, they start to get overwhelming.
Sal, do you know how to do it?
They create a rule for it, you want to go to a specific folder in Outlook.
If you reach out to Sal, he can help you. out.
Okay.
Anyone who wants to do that, reach out to Sal, he'll help you out.
That's how I have my email set up. too, so.
Yeah, okay, great.
Straight to trash. No. Okay. The claims order report, any questions? Okay. It looked pretty routine. And then any other discussions?
Okay,
All good?
Can I bring that up?
Yes, you can.
Sure. Okay, so I
just turn your mic on.
I had mentioned before an article in Newsday dated July 6th regarding Long Island school districts that were suing social media platforms, and I didn't see our name there. So I was curious if you had spoken about this previously, and I made copies, if you would like a copy of this.
So I read
You
it.
want it? Anyone
Thank you.
want a
I
copy?
don't get Newsday, so I'll change it.
I'll take one. too.
So you did discuss this or did not?
Yeah,
discuss?
we
You
did
did.
discuss
We
it.
were approached, it was actually pretty late on, if I remember, like the lawsuit was already starting.
Mhm.
And then we did have an interest in it. I think you can add
Yeah,
more.
yeah, we actually signed on to do it, and then when they sent us the packet of materials we would be required to provide,
Mhm.
it was untenable for our staff to be able to organize what they asked for in a short time period because they had already been underway and we were being added at the last opportunity. So it would have been nice to be able to join in on it, but the amount of information being asked for was just.
What were they asking for?
Every incident that every child was ever involved in and how much time each administrator and each teacher spent on each isolated incident added up and then with documentation about each incident. So we would have to didact every student name, teacher name, like and put together, it would have been a major project. So it just was, and by the deadline they gave us, it was not possible.
I mean, I think you all know the amount of time they spend on social media is an
Yes.
inordinate amount of time, and the impact is visible.
Yes,
On that
Sadly.
subject,
yes.
on that subject, one of the things that I've heard is they're going to try to put a block so they can't use cell phones in certain schools. That's going forward. And the other thing is the amount of time that I see all the time, kids on their phones continually. And it's scary. It's almost antisocial, and I think that's very important that we teach children that it's important to be able to conduct a conversation in person to another human being, not a stranger someplace, another human being. And it is very frightening to me to see how this is growing and growing. I wish there was a way we could stop it. If anybody has any ideas, I'm happy that they're considering blocking usage in schools, which I hope they
So
do.
the governor was just meeting with the president of the statewide teachers union this week. I don't know where NISBA is on it. I didn't look, so that definitely could be on top of it as well. But absolutely discussing the use of cell phones, especially the use of cell phones in schools,
That's what
which will definitely be related to the whole social media thing. It's a statewide initiative in many groups. I'm assuming the PTA, statewide PTA, will also be part of it.
it's
So,
hurting kids.
and it was just I know they were just in that conference this week. So
Well, I don't know if you're aware, but in the high school, Ron implemented the caddies, the phone caddies on the wall in every class. So the teachers in the past it was up to them whether they would allow the students to keep them on their body or in their backpack. But now all teachers are to have the phones in the caddy. Is the middle school the same?
Yeah, so the middle school is not currently doing that, but I think that it's something we want to discuss. I think it was a great move by the high school to do that, and even when I would watch classes, I'd watch kids, paying attention, talking to each other, asking for help, writing stuff, or even using their Chromebooks better. When they have the phones, there's always a distraction. And even if they don't want to be distracted, they get distracted. So I think the caddies are the way to go. If the state passes legislation like other states where they ban them, that's harder to do because kids can hide them. So I think it's a really tough.
Yeah, I think part of the major discussion is that what we did at the high school is it was a blanket, everybody was doing the same thing. But in a lot of schools, what's happening is one teacher's policies compared to the teachers next door policies weren't the same. And that was causing a headache for the teachers, for the administration, for the parents, because there was absolutely no consistency. So I think that's why the discussion has bubbled up to the legislative level, which probably didn't need to get to that level, but the act of consistency across a board in a district would be so helpful.
The issue at the middle school, I think, is that the policy there is that they're supposed to have them often in their lockers. So they shouldn't have a caddy, but then we know that they're hiding them in their pants. So we have to discuss that further. But it's definitely.
And I think in total, like if to be draconian, if they said no cell phones in school, that won't work either.
We also have
Because
families who
parents would
say,
just-
I need to get in
yeah.
touch with my kid if there's
Yeah.
an emergency.
Yeah.
But the social media aspect of what you bring up is beyond that. It's, kids go to bed with it under their pillow and they're constantly bullied at 3 a.m, where if they didn't have it on at 3 a.m. under their pillow, they wouldn't be getting bullied in the middle of the night. So you have these challenges that go well beyond schools.
But I think what's coming, and this is more from just listening to the news, they're going to age gate. So in other words, I forget the term, the language where it reinforces whatever your interest is. What's that called? Like it's,
The analog?
yeah, the
Yeah,
algorithm.
yeah,
You know, it's
the
what they're
algorithm.
saying is if you're under 18,
Yeah.
you're not subject to an algorithm. Like it will, that's what they foresee as it's illegal
Right.
for there to be algorithms applied to anybody under 18. So that like if you see something negative and you click on it, it takes you down a dark hole. It won't take you anywhere. And that's really, I think, where this will end up.
And
Yeah,
also
that's
there'll
not
be,
very good.
Yeah.
Like warnings on, before you click on something every time, the warning on the cigarette package.
Help anybody.
And then I had just one more article I wanted to share with you. Once again, I didn't know if you saw it. It was regarding co-ed sports. No, this one is earlier. I don't know if another one came today. I didn't read it today. Is there another today?
Is this the article where they said if a school doesn't offer a sport? Yeah, I read that. And
I mean, it's,
but that's pretty much always been in place. I know boys have played field hockey in the past because field hockey is a primarily male sport in Europe. So kids were moving over from Europe wanting to play field hockey. There was no boys field hockey team, so they were allowed to. But they would then end that at a certain age when when Southampton, right, exactly right. And and the kid agreed to it, and I think he played until like 9th grade, and whatever.
I remember there was a girl playing football who was a running back in football and also a couple of kickers. But I do remember that. Can't remember the year. It'll come to me after we've gone, but whatever. So I think if there's a real choice for someone to do it, it's been done. Good
Currently,
way.
the only sport that we offer that is not offered in both genders, I believe, is field hockey. I think wrestling, but in wrestling, there have been cases where there's been a female wrestler.
And Suffolk County actually now has a pretty extensive girls wrestling
can you
league.
Right, but we
Yeah.
can you say
Yeah.
flag
Right.
football as a
I feel like,
But they
I
can
feel like
enter.
it could be, but
No, but I'm saying you
But
can
it's
say
football.
that football and flag.
But there are different seasons.
That doesn't matter. Yeah.
It does.
No, because girls and boys tennis is different seasons.
I
As
do
is,
wanna
volleyball,
say
too.
I
Yeah,
went
girls and
to
boys
a
volleyball.
wrestling- I do not want to listen. Just one second. But I went to a wrestling meet, my grandson does it, and there were 2 girls wrestling. My daughter doesn't wrestle.
I mean, the only thing I briefly read it before, and it's again like trying to solve a problem with another problem, So I just hope the state doesn't do anything so severe that then it's just creating more, it's actually hurting students in the end.
I just
So,
wanted to bring it to
yeah.
your attention as I don't know what you discussed.
Yeah.
tonight.
It's happened.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay, let's see if I can get this done. Okay, so I need a motion. Oh, sorry, we're going to do public comment? Any public comment? No? Good, okay. Then we will move on to recommended action minutes 501 through, we'll do the 602. Okay, need a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, that's Kelly and James. Discussion? No? All those in favor? Okay, that passes. And then we'll do 603 separately. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Kelly, Desmond, discussion? All those in favor? Against? One abstain. Yes, one abstain, okay. And then we have motions 604 through 701, right? 701. Motion?
Motion.
Christine?
Second.
James?
Kathy, you second.
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
Yeah, I have one, years ago when we got contracts, when it was like, we're just gonna use physical therapy, they would say physical therapy, X amount of dollars per visit or hour, which is not coming up in these contracts. So I would like to make sure we see the dollar amount in the contract.
Okay.
I just had a question about the business scholarship. Was that awarded? Did we award that, or is that for next year? The Suffolk Association of School Business Official Scholarship.
Which item was that?
626.
Yeah. Is
I
that
think we're
something?
just accepting a $500 scholarship donation from
Yeah.
the New York State
And then we
Scholarship
would give
Association.
And then we
that
give
to
it
a
next
student.
year.
Yeah.
Okay, so they give it to us like it.
Yeah, we give it at like graduation time. And then.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if we had already given it or if it was for next year.
Throughout the year, you'll see like we'll have donations from various
Yeah.
organizations to be awarded at the time of graduation.
Right.
Okay.
It's cool award.
Discussion is closed. All those in favor? Against? Motion passes. And then we have 703. Need a, we did 702, right?
No.
Oh, sorry,
You did one.
702. You're right. Motion 702. Second,
Second.
James, Christine, discussion? All those in favor? Against? Abstain? Got one abstention. Motion passes. Oh, sorry.
Did you just do 03?
No.
Yeah, that was 02. Now 703 through 10, sorry, through 90, no, wait, to 801, right? 703 to 801. Motion?
Second.
Kathy, Christine, discussion? All those in favor? Against? Motion passes.
I just want to take a moment with that motion. I want to recognize Dr. Branscombe, who spent the last 18 years in the Sayville School District. He has an impeccable record over those time period and has been a right hand and a rock for our central office team for quite a while. We want to thank Peter for his service and wish you well in your future endeavors.
Sorry, Steve, Pete.
I just want to thank Dr. Ferris and certainly the Board of Education. I've literally had 2 decades of opportunities here, and I can't thank you enough, and the school community, I can't thank enough for providing that for me. So it's tough to leave, but I just wanted to say thank you. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Peter.
And Pete, I just want to say you've left your mark on Sayville Schools. Thank
Yes.
you for your service to the district. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to put, I mean, one of the things we see Dr. Branscombe in this role as Assistant Super Human Resources, he righted the ship with special ed. Like, our ship was not going the direction it needed to go until Dr. Branscombe stepped in. So that was like 2 chapters ago, and it's just been ongoing contributions since then too. So thank you for your faithful service.
You'll be missed.
Pete, I'd just like to add something on a smaller scale, but just as important. Since becoming a board member, you've always been so helpful to me in any question I've ever asked with data or guidance or an anecdote. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, for always helping myself, and I know the other board members get along, get through. Thank you.
Okay, so now on to upcoming dates. August 22nd, we have the Board of Education meeting at 5:30. And then I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss particular personnel. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
So Kelly and Christine, all those in favor? Against? We're in exec session. Thank you.